Hi, my brothers and sisters. Listen, this is very, very, very important. I need your help. This this whole website and this whole idea, brothers in bow ties, was supposed to be, and is still ultimately about trying to get some young men to go off to medical, dental, and allied health and sciences, math and science, fields of science for black and brown men so that we're not following that pipeline to prison. But things have gotten so bad in this country recently. Well, it's been all my life, but I can't believe where we are now in 2014. All of this police brutality, killing, the fighting against Obama holding the country back, and the whole thing is just unbelievable to me. So what I've decided to do right now is to try to I want to share my screen and go through some things that I think really can change something in this nation. If it doesn't, then we gave it a try. But I need your help on this, and I think that you're going to like what I'm presenting here. So check it out, if you will. I'd like to share my screen, and I'm going to. I think we're going right here. This one, yes. Let me share that with you. Now, it starts out here, and I'll go like so. This is my son, and he looks very tired right here. So my daughter wanted to be in this with us. So I wanted to share this, brothers in bow ties. It's a concept of pride and professionalism, but what we want to use now is to leverage. I think that you have to always realize if you have something that you can lever, and we can leverage this and get a lot out of it. It's about winning, and if you're going to win, you need to have goals, and it has to be a purpose to what you're doing. So let me tell you about the goals, the purpose, the plan, and this whole thing. A million man vote, not necessarily a million man march. We've moved on, but there's something that has to happen in this country right now, and we're online. The digital world has taken over, and social media, everybody's connected. That 6 degrees of separation, I mean, now you can reach out and touch anybody. And we want to do that. We want to go there. The goal is to get out the midterm vote. The midterm vote, which is coming up November 4th. The purpose is because election have consequences. Elections have consequences. I want you to remember that. So social media madness and bow tie Tuesdays. Bow ties on Tuesdays from now till November the 4th, which is election day, because we want to get a million man vote out, and I'm going to tell you how we ought to do this thing. What you want is this. I made freedom count. I voted. I made freedom count in your country. You know, that's the thing. In your country, it's yours. And you want to say that I made freedom count. And a lot of people running around, this is my country, it's not your country. Well, you want to let them know also, I made freedom count in your country then. If you think it's yours and not everybody, I still made freedom count because it's important. It's important to have freedom, and it's important to vote. And right now, some of the things are reverting back to the point whereas people like this, listen, one of my heroes, and I don't think we give enough credit to one of the living legacies that's still fighting the fight there, John Lewis. And this man has been through a lot. I look back, I mean, I never met John Lewis, but I look at some of the things that he's been through, man, and we need to take our hats off to him. And people like that are still saying some things. They've seen it all. We need to hear from these brothers, and we need to follow their lead. But I'm telling you, education, and not just getting in the street and throwing rocks and trying to fight the police. We're going to need education, but we're going to need organization. We have to organize if we're going to get people to listen. And in order to get people to listen, you have to be able to get to the polls and vote. And that's the reason that these guys were in prison and people beat to death, because they were trying to make it so that we can vote. And that's the whole thing. And Martin Luther King and all of them. This is one of the brothers that are out there now trying to protect the vote. This guy, I take my hat off to Eric Holder, because they've tried to beat him down. They've really gone after Eric Holder, and the man has stood up, and he's standing up still, and I applaud him. I really do. And if you go back, 1964, I was born in 55, so I remember this when, these things were happening. The Civil Rights Act of 1964. This is within my lifetime, and it's not that far from, if you're living, it's not that far from when you have been here on this earth. But anyway, in 64, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. And it ended unequal application of voter registration requirements, racial segregation in school. But think about this, that voter registration requirements. I remember when, around that time, my father was, I remember being in the truck and they were talking about poll taxes, and my cousins and we were laughing because someone asked the question, what the hell is a poll tax? And somebody said, oh, if you got a poll, you got to pay taxes. And pretty much that's what it is. It was one of those things just trying to stop blacks from having the right to vote. So a lot of people died to give us the right to vote. The Voting Rights Act, which followed the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act of '65, a landmark piece of federal legislation in the U.S. prohibit racial discrimination in voting. But now it's back. In a lot of places, they're trying to keep you from voting, really working hard at it. This Voting Rights Act of '65 is a major piece of civil rights legislation. It took a lot of people have to get beat down and die to make this thing happen. And we can't take it lightly, because that's the reason. I mean, as long as they could keep us away from the poll, that's the #1 fear that they have right now. And they know, and they're all happy, and people are all ecstatic because voter turnout always drops off for the midterm election. But why? Because there's no presidential race going on, and the people tend to be more lackadaisical about it. But we got to change it. At least this time we got to get the vote out. And we don't just need the black vote, we need the brown vote. The black and brown, the B&B, the brothers in bow ties, also with the B&B is black and brown. We, in this country, we need to get the vote out, because the Latinos need it as much as blacks. We need to come together in this country, and we need to vote. We need to stand for something so that our voices are heard. That's the only thing I'm saying, so that our voices are heard, because right now you're ignored, and the only way to make people listen is that you can get a vote out. So why the bow ties on Tuesdays? It's to grab the attention, the awareness that goes along with that is big too. But you grab the people's attention, you start a conversation, because people are going to wonder, wow, why are these guys dressed up in bow ties? What's that about? And now you get a chance to tell the story. You're saying we're trying to get people out to the polls on November 4th. This is going to be a Tuesday. It's a big Tuesday. And from now until November 4th, we're wearing bow ties. Tell everybody you know. It's an awareness campaign. That's what we're doing. And it's a reminder. Every time you put it on, it makes you think how hard it's been in this country to get to vote. And you want to remind people, get out there, especially this time. And it's about solidarity, unity. You have to, once everybody's winning, you're going to feel different. You're going to feel a part of something that is so much bigger than you and I, and this whole fights in the street and so forth is bigger than that. This is really big, because we're taking back what is being stripped away. You're going to have pride, and you're going to have pride when you put on this bow tie. It's for brothers, both Latino and black brothers, and for white brothers if they want to join in these Tuesdays, but it represents something to get young black and brown men of color to get better education. We want better schools. We want to stop this pipeline to prison. We want to give them a chance, and that's what this bow ties on Tuesdays is about. I want you to look around. A lot of people are already, bow ties are coming back in. A lot of people are playing bow ties already, but they go back a long ways, you know, and young men always look good in bow ties. So we want to play it. Play your bow ties, especially on Tuesdays, and be able to talk about the cause. That's what it's about. Bow ties. You know, play him. This brother here in the middle, he's. I see a lot of brothers playing it now in different ways. You know, and then it's a formal kind of thing. You can do it like that. There's a lot of ways you could play a bow tie now, and that is what I want to see on Tuesdays. But it has to mean something. It means that we're going to get the vote out. We're going to talk to everybody we know to get out there and go to the polls and go to the polls on November the 4th, midterm. Talk to them about midterms. They don't expect you to be there, but we're going to be there, and we're going to truck other people in. We're going to bring everybody in. We're going to be there. The prison industry, that's one of the things, like I was saying, it's a pipeline from primary school to the prison systems, and now it's become a big business, and it's a new form of slavery. It really is. The prison systems, because there's investors now putting money, and here's what happened. The police have become corrupt because the money is sliding through to the judges and to elected officials so that they can set up things to a pipeline so that more investors can get more money out of their investment into these prison systems. I'll tell you a sad story about that. This private contract in a prison. I'm from Snow Hill, North Carolina, Snow Hill, Kinston area. Kinston. My sister lives in Kinston, and I remember when I was visiting there a few years back, this guy came to her her office, asking for a job. This is construction business, and she was asking him something about, you know, what he's been doing, and he said, well, I haven't been doing too much of anything because I spent a little time in the prison system here, and that's the only job because all the other jobs are dried up. The biggest industry in the area right now are prison systems around there, and they're putting black and Latino men in, young boys in there, because there's nothing else to do. There's no school. The school systems are bad. The jobs have left. Of course, and they're going to get into all kind of little things, but we have to change this country rather than directing and making this thing the largest in the entire world. No other country in the world has even remotely close to the number of prisoners that we do, and we make up a small percentage of the population, but a large percent of the prison population, small percent of the college and professional population, large percent of the prison population. But look at the demographics here, distribution. This is, if you look here to the left, you're looking at the Hispanic population. Look all the way to the south and southwest is really heavy. And then if you look to the right there, the black population, the deep south, and along the eastern seaboard. We need to be able to get that vote out there so that people will have enough respect to at least give us conversation and dialogue, because the fear that we will vote a certain way. Unless you have some kind of leverage, why would a person even stop to talk and listen to what you have to say? You don't have a lever. And the vote is the lever. That's why they fear that. Elections have consequences. Fear of you voting is a top priority in this country. And I'm telling you, the Republican Party is pushing it very, very hard to keep you from voting. The oppressors, hoping that you don't wake up, become aware of this massively effective tool that we have, the ability to vote. And I'm telling you, together we stand, blacks and brown, getting people to the poll, getting people out to vote so that someone will listen to what we have to say. Young men of color being victimized by this system. I see it. I have a young son. I'm concerned. I've been concerned all of my life, and I've seen what has happened to me all of my life just because of the color of my skin. And this pipeline to prison, I fortunately slipped through that, but school really saved me on a lot of things. And I'm telling you, it helped me to become a doctor. I mean, school is what allowed me to become a doctor. But during those times, there were grants and so forth to help people go through school. Now all of that's taken away, and you're relegated to fighting to get in. I have some things that I'm going to try to teach later on, some entrepreneurial ideas I've learned that I think can help a lot of these guys if you can get people to tune in. But What's happening in this country? A friend of mine, a Jamaican friend of mine, he said, man, they take you out at the knees and then they penalize you for not keeping up. Think about it. Take you out at the knees when you're a kid, poor schools, other conditions, sit over here, and now when it's time to compete, oh, you're not ready to compete. We cut you off at the knees. What a system. Anyway, this is what it is. Kids that are even too young to vote, you can vote too by taking people and letting them vote for you. You can get people to go, your aunt, your grandmother, your uncle, anyone. Get them out to the polls. Tell them you need them to vote. Put on your bow tie. Tell them I'm wearing this bow tie for you to get you out there because midterms matter. That's what we want to send the message. Midterms matter whether you know it or not. And it's we the people. We make a part of the people, and we should be represented. And this is what we're going to try to do. We the people. You want to be able to say, so these things, the I voted sticker, you want to start, go online, get some printed, and find out how you're going to get it. And then when you have your bow tie, every time you put on your bow tie, you ought to be looking at one of these and thinking about it. I voted. I made freedom happen in your country. I voted. That's it, guys. That's my message right there. I'm telling you, if I can get you to really, if I can get you to go out and talk to somebody about voting, and then just Google the Civil Rights Act. Google these things about the pipeline to prison for young black and Hispanic men. Put on your bow ties on Tuesdays. Wear them proudly because people are going to give you more respect anyway. And then later, after this election, I'm going to talk about entrepreneurial experiences that can go on to change anyone's life. And hopefully we can bring some of these guys up. But what I'd like to see, some of them going off to medical, dental, allied health sciences, veterinary, any of these fields, because we're not being represented right now. You know, a lot of people saying, well, we're not represented equally on the police force, but think about your doctors. If anything, wouldn't you like, if you're going under the knife or something, wouldn't you like to know and feel that the person that is working with you has a little bit of concern? If you don't lose that and you don't have anybody in the field that look like you, yes, you become a little bit concerned. I know doctors take the Hippocratic Oath and so forth, but I, even being a doctor myself, when I have to have surgery, I'm kind of looking around to question, you know, what does this person like me or not? I don't know. They could be in the field just to be there because it's a job. You know, but that's just me. Vote, please, and get the people out. I'm going to be back with you as often as I can talking about the bow tie. The brothers in bow ties is the B&B. It's brown and black. We have become victims, and you don't want to run around crying just victim. You want to get up and do something. You want to get educated, and you want to get to the polls. Those are the two things that I'm really preaching. Get education, get to the polls, and get informed so that you know. But remember this, November 4th, midterm madness. You got to be there. Thank you so much.